Hovis here at Par 4 Fitness. We're going to be talking about the Boditrak today. So this is a very important piece of equipment for me, just because everything starts at the feet. If we've got an unstable foundation, it's going to be very challenging to get the body in the right positions. And Boditrak for us is something that allows us to analyze what's going on with the feet. It also helps us make corrections at the foot, at the ankle, and further on up the chain through the knee and hip, etc. So I'm going to walk you through some things that we look for with vertical jumps. I'm going to show you some high-level players, as well as some players that struggle maximizing ground forces. So some of the things that we do here at Par 4 Fitness are try to maximize how much pressure we're able to put through the ground through strength training, and then also reduce the amount of time that it takes to create that force. So we're looking at power. There's a direct relationship between how much we can push into the ground and how fast we can get that club head going. During the vertical jump test, some things that we will notice here are some spikes. So this graph is showing vertical forces into the ground in relation to body weight. So my concern initially is how much pressure can this player put into the ground, which is going to be total pressure represented by the orange. And then we get into breaking down right and left foot. So as we progress through the jump here, this was the best in terms of vertical forces. So at this point in time, this player has put 2.34 times her body weight into the ground. Now that is a very nice amount of vertical force. So that's going to be her ceiling on how much she can create throughout the swing. And what I like to see is the landing be smaller in terms of force than the takeoff, which she does again a very nice job of, 2.11 times her body weight. Now this third jump was a little sloppy, so we see that big peak on the third jump and her landing, but again some very nice numbers here in terms of how much she's pushing into the ground and how much she's able to absorb coming down. So that push off is going to represent how much she's able to create. Think of that as the gas pedal, and then also when she lands, think of that as the brake pedal. So for us, she is putting 1.28 times her body weight into the right foot and 1.06 times her body weight into the left foot, the lead foot. So those totaling up to 2.34. Some of the things we want to look at. Okay, is she right leg dominant? The answer would be yes. So that would represent the forces that she's putting through the ground. Now, something that's really interesting, say this player had a ACL injury. This could be something that we look at for rehab purposes as well. We can look at exactly how much force she's putting through the ground on the injured side. So that might be significantly reduced in the event of that injury. And as she progressed through rehab, you would want to see these numbers equal out or get pretty close to the pre-injury numbers. Another very important aspect of the vertical jump and how we're measuring it is where the force is going through the feet. So we know that we've reached this optimal pressuring as this player goes down into the loading phase of the jump. So at her peak here, we're going to notice that she's loading into the right side 56% on the bottom, but she's very equal 60-40 through the heels. Now that's important because we know that she's put more pressure into the right foot compared to her left side. So being a right-sided dominant player, this can be some things that play a role in her golf swing. So we know that loading into the heel and then rocking forward towards the toe is going to produce the most amount of force through the ground. And we see that she goes into this extension. So this is something that we work on with Olympic lifting as well, and that's why Olympic lifting is so important, just to have at least a basic grasp on, because it allows us to use the ground and create these vertical forces, which allow us to basically push into the ground more, but we can create more club head speed. And there's a direct relationship with how much force can you put into the ground and how fast can you swing the club. So we find that the most distance is created by the players that are able to push a large percentage of their body weight into the ground. So something very important to work on for us in our training. Here we've got a professional player, Big East Player of the Year 2018, 2019. But I'm just going to play this through. So there's a couple different things that we want to see. So on the right side of the screen, we're going to see an early shift over to the right side. Now this player loads into his trail toe 73%, but you'll notice that he's over onto that side 68% compared to the left side. So what we're going to see is that club travel back very square, and then we're gonna see a very early load and transition over to that left side. You'll see that center pressure shift over very early onto the left side, 71% there already, and the arms have barely moved an inch. So what we see out of professional players is they load into that side very well with all clubs, and that's something that amateur players tend to struggle mightily with. So some common issues that create that can be stance width. If the players are getting too wide of a stance due to balance issues, maybe they're just trying to create a bit more hip stability, that can be something that limits your ability to transfer early over to the left side, like this player does. And this guy, he is north of 125 on the club head speed range. So some tips that we can use to create speed as well, because we know that's not a limiting factor for this gentleman. So for us amateurs, getting over to that left side before the lead arm is in that position there, parallel to the ground in the downswing, that's what we want to see. After that, you're going to see a lot of variation. So you're going to see Justin Thomas, who kind of hangs back on his right side after that, and that's because he's pushing so hard through his left foot coming into transition up until this point. Jordan Spieth is going to roll his foot. Patrick Reed's going to spin that left foot out. Bubba Watson's off the ground. These long drive guys and girls are off the ground as well. So the important part is before that lead arm is parallel, we're getting back over to that left side early. So here's a higher single digit player, and we're just going to play this through. Lead arm parallel. You're going to see this player gets over onto the right side well. So lead arm parallel, he's 76% on that side. Of that pressure, 57 of it is through the heel. So that's going to allow him to create this rotary mechanism of the hips. You'll see how his hips rotate back there pretty well, and then he's going to come up. And then what we look for in transition, again, is by the time that lead arm is parallel, we want to see about 75 to 80% over onto that left side. So we take our professional player, who we know gets over onto that left side a bit more quickly, even before the hands start to move in relation to this player. To compare it, he's only at 56% on his left side. And of that pressure, 80% is on the left toe, 67% on the right toe. So think of the toes as a mechanism of braking. The heels are going to be our accelerators. So for us, the hips here are going to extend a bit off of that vertical line behind the hips, and we're going to see the hands have to make up as a compensation. So we get a bit of a inconsistency in ball flight, but this player gets it done at a fairly high level. What can make him better? Getting over to the left side a bit sooner, staying through the left heel in transition, allowing him to rotate just as well forward as he does back.